The meeting starts at 8. There are 4 people in the room. No agenda on the table. No presentation on the screen. You speak for approximately 7 minutes. You ask 3 questions. The room recalibrates around those questions. You leave before the coffee is cleared. This is what power looks like at its most compressed. No volume, no spectacle. Just a room that moves in the direction of your thinking because of what you represent, what you've built, and what you've been willing to pay over 4 decades to be in that room rather than briefing someone who was. You didn't start there. Nobody does. You started the way everyone starts, with a badge that still smelled like the printer, with a job that felt enormous until you saw what the people 2 floors above you were operating with a specific particular hunger of someone who has looked at a system from the outside long enough to have studied its geometry before ever entering it. This is what every floor between that first day and that 7-minute meeting actually costs. You are 22. The badge is new. The company does $4 billion in revenue across markets you are beginning to understand the shape of. Your job, your actual job, not the version on the offer letter, is to produce outputs that other people present in rooms you are not invited to. Decks, models, analysis formatted for someone else's conversation. You do this without complaint, not because you don't notice, because you are paying attention to something more valuable than the credit. You are watching how power moves through the organization. Who speaks first? Who asks the clarifying question that reframes the conversation? Which executives enter rooms and which executives are already seated when others arrive? You write some of this in a notebook. By the end of the first year, you stop writing it down. You've internalized it. That's the shift at year 1, not the raise, not the title change, the internalization. You make a mistake in year 2, a real one. You push back on a senior person in a meeting with their direct reports present, and you are technically correct and professionally wrong, and you feel the temperature of the room change before you finish the sentence. Nobody says anything directly. 2 weeks later, you are off a project you should have been on. You file it. You never make that particular mistake again. The education cost you nothing except the lesson. You move companies at 25. New city, new function. Now you manage 3 people. For the first time, something happens in a working day because you said so. You get quieter in meetings. You stop filling silences. You learn that the person who controls the pause controls the room, and that most people are too uncomfortable with silence to understand that. Your target is margin improvement across a product set. You approve your first layoff, 1 person. You build the business case in 40 minutes. You are precise and fair in every measurable sense. You make the number. You feel not happiness but relief. And you file the distinction because it will matter later. Someone tells you that you have executive presence. You already knew that. What you didn't know was that other people could see it. That information is useful. At 30, you are inside a private equity-backed company, and everything is different. The company is owned by people in New York who care about 1 number and 1 number only. Not revenue, not growth. EBITDA, the multiple that sets the exit. Every decision you make is a direct variable in someone else's financial model. That clarity is uncomfortable and useful simultaneously. You stop thinking in ambiguous terms. You start thinking in mechanisms. You close a plant. Not metaphorically. You fly there. You stand in front of 81 people. You are the only person in the room who won't be affected by what you're about to say. You say it anyway. You drive to the airport alone. You don't turn on the radio. The absence of regret surprises you more than the decision did. You file that too. By year 2 there, EBITDA is up significantly. The operating partners copy you on emails you weren't on before. The partner in New York mentions your name on a review call. These are signals. You read signals the way some people read text. When you get a call from a recruiter at 32, you take the meeting. You always take the meeting. That is the first rule you learned and never unlearned. Vice President, 34. A 1,400-person business unit. Your name on an engagement letter. Your fee on a $600 million transaction. You lead your first acquisition, a European brand, 11 weeks in Frankfurt and 6 in integration. The margin targets hit in year 1. Credit flows upward. You make sure blame never flows downward to your team. The CFO notices. The CFO matters. You are invited to observe a board meeting at 36. You say nothing for 3 hours. You watch the chairman run the room, the deliberateness, the controlled pace, the way he uses silence as a tool. It looks effortless. You understand, by now, that effortless is a performance that takes years to build, and that building it is the actual work of this level. Senior Vice President, 38. 1,800 people across 11 countries. You see the organizational chart with your name at the top and 1,800 nodes below it. Each node is a person, a mortgage, a family, a set of expectations about continuity. Every decision you make lands somewhere specific. After a while, you stop seeing where it lands. That is not callousness. It is a structural adaptation to operating at a scale where the individual consequences of aggregate decisions cannot be held simultaneously with the decisions themselves. You file this without judging it. It is information about the level. You testify before a congressional subcommittee. 40 minutes. Every word prepared. You give nothing that wasn't prepared. You leave. The news cycle moves on. You have a chief of staff now. Your calendar is managed entirely by other people. Everything reaches you pre-filtered, shaped. You are no longer operating. You are deciding. The distinction is not semantic. It will only widen from here. Chief Operating Officer, 41. You run the company while the CEO builds the company. 11,000 direct and indirect reports. Every P&L rolls through you before it reaches the board. A product recall hits over 2 million units. You activate the crisis response in under an hour. You brief the board that evening, composed, contained, no visible disruption to your certainty. The recall costs 180 million. You manage it without a fatality. The board is pleased. You register it as a flaw, a minimum standard, not an achievement. You stop sleeping past 4 a.m., not from stress, from recalibration. Your system has adjusted to the workload the way an athlete's system adjusts to altitude. You don't notice the adjustment while it's happening. You only notice it later when you try to explain to someone close to you why you can't fully decompress on vacation, and the explanation doesn't land in a way that produces understanding. The chairman calls you directly one morning, not your assistant, not through the CEO, you. The call is short, the information in it is long. Chief Executive Officer, the first day you inherit everything simultaneously. Revenue north of 9 billion, 17,000 employees, a stock price under pressure, an activist holding almost 7% with a letter already drafted. You spend the first 90 days listening, not because you lack a view, because you know how to enter a system. You've been watching people enter systems wrong for 20 years. You travel to 14 facilities in the first 3 months. You sit in town halls. You ask the questions before you answer them. Then you move. 4 divisions become 2. Over $1 billion in non-core assets divested. The stock drops on the announcement day. You told the board it would. You were right. You are fluent in 2 things simultaneously: the actual operational mechanics of the company, and the language required to communicate direction without triggering uncertainty in markets that pass every pause you make on an earnings call. 3 years in, the stock has returned significantly. The board renews without a vote. Then, the chairman calls again. The conversation is 4 minutes long. It changes the trajectory of everything that follows. Beyond the title, there is no announcement, no press release, no profile in a magazine. There is a set of relationships and positions compounded over 20 years into something that doesn't have a precise public name. When markets are stressed, your phone rings before the news breaks. When governments restructure sovereign obligations, you are sometimes in the room helping design the terms, rather than reading about them the next morning. You hold no position that requires confirmation. Your name is known in specific rooms and nowhere else. That specificity is not a limitation. It is the design. Your portfolio companies employ 34,000 people across 9 countries. You haven't visited most. A Tuesday morning, a call with 3 people, 22 minutes, 6.2 billion moved, no recording, no transcript, no minutes. You hang up. You pour coffee. You move to the next item. What you traded to be in that room was not made in a single moment. It was made across every floor on the way up. The relationship that didn't survive the hours. The version of yourself that used to have strong opinions about how evenings should be spent. The capacity for a certain kind of uncomplicated presence that people who operate at lower intensity still have access to, and that you surrendered incrementally, without ceremony, across years of choosing the next level over the thing the next level cost. You made those trades. Every year you stayed, you chose again. The trades compound the same way the money compounds, the same way the access compounds, the same way the distance from your original life compounds, quietly, without announcing itself, until one morning you realize the distance is the thing, and the thing is permanent, and you made it on purpose, and you would make it again. Down in the lobby, a new analyst walks through the glass doors. The badge is fresh. He checked the company's annual report last night. He knows the revenue. He knows the CEO's name. He thinks he is starting a career. He doesn't understand yet that he is entering a system with gravity, a system that rewards specific things in a specific sequence at a specific cost. Not the cost he thinks, not the cost that appears in the job description or the onboarding materials or the conversation with the recruiter who placed him. The elevator goes up. The lobby doors close behind him. He doesn't know what the system actually rewards, but he will. They always do. And by the time they do, they have already paid most of the price without knowing they were paying anything at all. The meeting starts at 8. There are 4 people in the room.